What's up, guys? My name is Gabe with Archer Auto Sport. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to replace your oil filter housing gasket on your N54 engine without removing any of your coolant or radiator hoses. Alright guys, so these are all the parts you're going to need. Oil filter housing gasket, 3/16 Allen bit to take off the engine cover. You're going to need an E14 for the side part of the strut bars. You're going to need an E18 for the main part of the strut bar. You're going to need an 11mm to take off your manifold bolts. And you're going to need a E10 to take off all the oil filter housing bolts. If the E10 cannot reach the front oil filter housing bolt, you're going to need an 8mm or an E10 wrench. I also would prefer you do this only with hand tools, but I've seen mechanics mess up everything with impacts. So please try to just use hand tools. Impacts will save you a lot of time. You're going to need a trash bag to prevent coolant from leaking onto your belt. I have a brand new belt, so I do not want it getting destroyed. And then some good brake cleaner to clean off both the mating surfaces for the oil filter housing gasket. All right, guys, first things first, I'm going to be removing my engine cover, catch can, and strut bar. And right off camera here, I have full parts tray. Please buy one. It's gonna save you so much time and anxiety knowing where everything's at. So I always have one. 3/16 Allen bit to remove your engine cover. And then pretty straightforward, guys. This is going to be an E18, and then your side strut bolts are going to be an E14. I already have the middle one removed because I have one of my coilovers removed right now, so I'm just going to be removing the right side. And I'm not actually going to be fully removing my catch can because I don't want to disconnect my entire PCB setup. Okay, next, guys, I'm going to be removing the black booster vacuum hose and the vacuum lines from it. I just like setting it right here behind the AC, and then simple, just move those guys off, and then make sure you remember where they go, but I just move them off right over here to the side. You guys may have noticed I have my trusty little paint marker at the beginning of the video. That is because I always mark my O2 sensors before removing them. Seen mechanics disconnect them improperly 100 times, and I will just never fall victim to that because I marked them. Perfect. And then we're just gonna route these guys over here, put them off to the side. Next, just disconnecting the oil pressure sensor. Just push down on the tab and disconnect. Then, normally, you may have realized there's a lot of things different about my car. I have relocated inlets, I have no cowl, I run Turbo Smart dual diverter valves. Kind of pointless, but they sound really good. Makes it a lot easier for me. If you had stock inlets and the tile blow-off valve would be a little bit harder. I'm not going to disconnect any of that. Normally people would disconnect the charge pipe even. I know that my intercooler coupler will bend enough to allow me to move the manifold back an inch or two. Normally I would recommend disconnect the charge pipe from both sides, just pull it out, and then free the manifold, disconnect your 3.5 bar. I'm not going to do any of that. Not because I don't pay attention to detail, but because I know that from working on this car, everything will move properly and I can save a lot of time and stress by not removing it. Also, that means that I won't need a new charge pipe O-ring, which you always should get if you disconnect it. So just make sure you're paying attention to those types of things, and if you do, you will be 100% good. All right, now I'm going to be just removing the manifold slightly, just moving it about an inch back so that I can get to that back bolt. These are all going to be 11mm. Just be super careful if you're using an impact like me. I'm used to using an impact, or else I would say loosen it first with hand tools and then get them out the rest of the way. Make sure you do not drop any of these. If you drop any of them, you will need to take the manifold completely off. So be careful. And I'm broken myself. Yeah, I'll use some broken. And this last one gets a little tight. The catch can, I need an extension. Perfect. And then just gonna use this guy off of here just a little bit. So next I'm just gonna be loosening the oil filter cap just so that all the oil will drain out of the oil filter housing gasket. And then I'm going to be loosening all 3 bolts. One is right here, one is down here hidden away from us, and then one is right here. The top E-Torx bolt is gonna be the longest one. The front is going to be the shortest, and then the back one is going to be the one that's in between, just for future reference. And then just grab a little rag, because oil will come out around the edges. And just give it a second to drain. And while I let that drain, I am going to slightly start to loosen the E-Torx bolts on the oil filter housing gasket. And again, just barely lifting the manifold, making sure it's seated properly, and using that little bolt. Once they're started, of course, feel free to use the impact. Now this is the hard part. I'm going to use an E10 wrench. Actually, I'm not, because I don't have an E10 wrench, and I went and looked everywhere and I could not find one. So I'm going to be a little bit stupid and loosen the front oil filter housing bolt with an 8mm. This is super tight. I just don't want to remove my Mickey Mouse flange again. I just replaced it not too long ago, and I'm unable right now to get a gasket for it. So I'm just going to loosen this by hand. Be extremely careful if you're going to use an 8mm. Like me, because it's honestly pretty stupid, but since this is my personal car, I will do it. If it was a customer car, there's no way in hell. Right now I'm just putting a microfiber around my belt. It's a brand new belt. I also put a trash bag underneath it, just since I want to be extra safe. That attention to detail will save you some time and money. Also, if I see any large amounts of coolant oil on my belt, new belt ready to go. You should have one too, always. And then perfect, that worked the charm. I am him though. Perfect. And then there goes all the coolant directly onto your belt if you're not being careful. And then make sure to be not like me and try to be pretty quick with removing it, as obviously there's going to be quite a little bit of coolant in your upper radiator hose, and also these upper radiator hoses are pain, like to break, so be super careful right now. Just got another microfiber, cleaning off the mating surfaces. Okay, and now with a pick or a sharp object, I'm just going to be taking my really flattened oil filter housing gasket out. Ooh. I was told when I bought this car that it was done by the previous owner, and with how it's coming out, I kind of doubt that. Pretty flattened, not looking that great. Now I'm gonna grab brake clean and go crazy. If you're like me and you want your oil filter housing gasket to look pretty, this is one of the only times you're going to be able to see the back part of it, so definitely take some extra time. Come to my shop, you will definitely be getting the same treatment. I pressure wash all you guys' subframes and pretty much anything that comes off the car. Perfect. I'm actually going to take a scraper too, because I still see some remnants. Alright guys, just spent like an extra 30 minutes just making sure everything 100% clean. Now I'm going to be putting in the new oil filter housing gasket and re-putting it back on. Again, it's worth taking the time just to make sure that everything is seated properly. And longest bolt in the top. Shortest bolt in the bottom. And middle bolt goes in the back. Just getting all these started without an impact, of course. Now I'm just going to tighten everything down. Again, E10 wrench. Okay, and then once you are done torquing everything down to 22 foot-pounds, time to start putting everything back together. Exact same process as before, so I'm just going to do a quick little time lapse, but that's it. Oil filter housing gasket replaced. I did not remove any coolant lines. You will have to, of course, clean up the rags and everything. Make sure there's no coolant on your serpentine belt. Very, very important. And that's pretty much it. All right, guys, that's pretty much everything. As always, all the parts and tools are going to be listed in the description that I used. If you have any questions, just refer to that, please. Any other questions to do with the video, anything like that, just leave it in the comments. Always happy to answer. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.